So una advice hata na any language hata ejuka.
Parents, I advise you to take care and check your children when they are young, because many problems are occurring when the children are tender, and when you're not careful, when you don't take care, you find the problem when it is too late.
Yeah.
So be careful when you're nurturing your young ones,
Yeah.
so that you can identify their problems as early as a tender age.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you have heard. I'm talking out of what I've experienced in one or two things, but now that is a real life experience. Keep watching. We love you so much, and as the auntie said, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.
Inside. Yeah.
Admission 4,000.
How are you?
How are you? How are you doing?
Subscribe.
Eh?
Madam, subscribe.
You subscribe this. If
you're watching.
if you are watching, subscribe.
Today I'm hanging out with my auntie, my favorite auntie. Wow. So today I came with my auntie and brought her to the clinic. And that's my favorite auntie, by the way. Yeah, she's more of a mom to me. Of course, she's my mom. Yeah, she's younger than my mom. Now, I wish to say hello to you, and I hope you're blessed and blessed of the Lord. And hope you woke up well, your family is doing fine. And I wish to, ask God to bless your day, to order your steps, so that whatever you're going to do today, God is going to be of a blessing to you. Yeah, you should thank God that you saw today, because there are other people who wanted to see it today, but they did not. There are people who used all the means of transport you used today, but they did not get to their destination. So if you find yourself in the destination you are meant to be in, like I and my aunt, you should. So karibu sana. For them that are my channel for the first time, kindly subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, I love you so much, and thank you so much for always tuning in. So today I thought so hard, and I said that I will address an issue I think is going to be of help. And if you come across this story or this piece, kindly share with the concerned, because it's very important. I know when every woman carries a pregnancy, we all believe that it's going to get to term, and for sure, that is everybody's wish. But fortunately or unfortunately, some of us get to term, others don't get to term due to some body complications, due to some, pressure, or even sugar diabetes. There are many things that can cause your pregnancy not to get to term. Maybe if you're stressed, if your mental, wellness is not fine, you find yourself not able to get to term. I have friends of mine who have not been able to get to term because of pressure, high blood pressure. So today I wanted to, enlighten you on something I've learned, having interacted with doctors on a follow-up on a premate child. When you go to a certain hospital and deliver your child, especially as a premature one, 6 months, 5 months, 7 months, and your child is not fully developed, and the first thing they have to do is put the child in the incubator, you might be attended by a pediatrician who is, well conversant with children. But I've come to realize that different doctors have different knowledge in their fields. So I thought I should share this because I got some little information about it. When you happen to get a child who is a premature, and she or he gets into the incubator for 30 days, 60 days, 100 days, 120, and they come out safe and sound. It is of importance that you really observe that child as she grows. Ensure if at all your consultant pediatrician does not advise you to see other doctors like neurologists, doctors like endocrinologists, doctors like audiologists, all those doctors. It is of importance, ophthalmologists, it is of importance to see these doctors. Why am I saying this? A child who is born premature may not develop normally like a child who was just born normal, which is not, a bad thing. But we as parents should be on the lookout. When you have a premature child, it is of importance for you as a parent to look for an ophthalmologist. If your consultant pediatrician does not advise, kindly look for an ophthalmologist for the child to be checked, especially the eyes. If the child is checked by the ophthalmologist, you are able to tell if that child has eyes are well developed or eyes are well developing. They give injections, and these injections help in boosting the parts of the eyes that have not developed. Just like I said, a premature child is not just like any other child. It's a special child, but a blessing. Most of them turn out to be geniuses. Some of them turn out to be very intelligent in their fields. So don't blame God for anything. In any case, thank God that you've at least pushed a seed up to a certain level and you have the results. When you check the eyes, you're able to tell that your child will be able to see. Number 2, if your consultant pediatrician does not advise for you to see a neurologist, it is of importance for you to visit a neurologist. Yeah, so you hear what I'm saying. If your consultant pediatrician does not advise you in any chance to see a neurologist, it's of importance to see a neurologist. The neurologist is able to measure the head, is able to check the nerves, is able to, check the height of the baby, which are very important because you may miss on the growth factor. I'm talking of premature babies. You may miss on the growth factor because a child could be growing and you see he or she is growing, but inside the hormone that is involved with growth is not working as supposed to work. So it is important for you, if your consultant pediatrician has not advised you to see a neurologist, yourself think of how you can look for a neurologist. Number 3, some of the primates could have issues with the thyroxine levels. If you know about thyroxine, you know you've got hypo and hyperthyroid goiters, and all these are stimulated by hormones. So you should be able to visit an endocrinologist so that he or she can be able to tell you or check the levels or check the thyroid gland to be able to advise you on any eventuality. Some of these things we may or may not know, and that's why I'm advising from what I've learned that it is of importance, if you have a premature child, check an endocrinologist, because an endocrinologist will work so closely with the neurologist to be able to determine or ascertain if the development of the child is right and on the track. After checking all these people, as your baby develops, it is of importance for you to check if your baby is responding to sound. How do you check that? There's a time I did a video on this platform and I said, when you want to ascertain if a child is hearing or not, you go at the back and then you talk from the back, from this side. From there, you can be able to tell if your child is responding. Because if you talk to your child from the front, your child is easily going to see the movements and respond. But if you talk to your child from the back, he or she may not hear what you're saying. So if you talk to a child from the back side and you see the child is not responding, it is of importance for you to check an audiologist. An audiologist is the one who is capable to determine through hearing tests and teams and all these tests they do if your child is able to hear and what level of hearing as your child suffered. So some of these things we may or may not know, because we may think that since our child is not growing on a normal curve like other children, then she will pick up. But it's of importance to be able to determine all these things by checking on all these doctors, because all these doctors will be able to help you ascertain if your child is okay. I talked of ophthalmologist who is involved with the eyes. I talked of a endocrinologist who is involved with the thyroid glands. I talked of neurologist who is involved on checking the length of every part of the body, checking the nerves, the response. Neurologists will hit your child in the knees with a hammer, the joints. They are able to know how your child is developing. And then I talked of an audiologist. This one is able to determine, to check, if your child has any problems with the hearing. Some of these things we learn on the way, and they're important to check. Like I said, your consultant pediatrician may not tell you this, and you may miss on the fact, thinking that your child is taking time to develop since he or she is not like the other child. So I'm not a doctor myself, but on the process of one or two things, I happen to learn a thing or two. And as always, I always come here and share what I've learned. So I don't know if this information is useful for you, but if you know a person who has a premature child, tell them to be keen and observant, because I've come to realize that not all hearing problems cannot be solved. Some will be solved with hearing aids. Some will be solved with implants of cochlear implant, because when they try and test your ears and they realize that you're not hearing properly, they might recommend an hearing aid. But if they realize also the hearing aid is not helping you, they might recommend for you to get a cochlear implant. From the word cochlear, there's a part of the ear that is called the cochlea that has a shape of a snail or snail shell. I don't know which is the best word I can tell. If that part is impaired, then a child is deemed to suffer from profound hearing, meaning he or she cannot hear at all. And some of these things are correctable at a young age of a child. Because if a child, for instance, is put an implant at 2 years, then it means he or she is able to bridge a very short gap. It helps him or catch up on talking, because children start talking at a young age. But if your child, you realize they're not hearing at an age of 10, imagine they're going to bridge the gap of between 1, 2 to 10 years. So it is of importance, if you realize your child is not hearing, see an audiologist. And you might, like I said, your consultant pediatrician may not be able to tell you this. Not all children that are born not hearing live like that. If you have the information, you can restore the hearing of your child through artificial means like cochlear implants, depending on whatever kind of loss that is. So what I'm trying to talk to us is, seek information out here. And then after all these are done, you'll need to see another doctor called a speech therapist who will be able to bridge the gap between when the child was meant to start speaking and the time when they presented him with an hearing aid or a cochlear implant to be able to help them with sound. So not hearing problems could be permanent, but they can be helped at an early stage. Unlike if someone was having unlike if someone got hearing problems when they grew old. That is different from someone who was born not hearing. So it is of importance for you to check with these doctors if you have a child who is premature, to be able to ascertain that your child is 100% okay. I don't know if this information is useful to anybody, but if you know someone who has a premature child, kindly pass this information to them. Thank you so much for watching. Auntie, waambie bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, please. Subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah, auntie amewambia subscribe. Aki mtu subscribe na watch. God bless you so much. Love you so much. Cheers. My auntie has just been telling me a story. There was a child in her village that was born, and just like any other normal child, she used to visit her. And you know, when a child visits you and there's a small child, munacheka, you enjoy yourself, you don't realize. But one time, this child visited a certain family in a town center. And then, this child one day, as she was playing outside, motorbike was, someone was riding a motorbike. And then he came towards the child, but from the back, and tried to so that the child would excuse him so that he would pass through. But the child could not respond. He hooted, he is at the back. The child could not respond. So everyone was like, hiyo sauti ya pikipiki vile ni kubwa, mtoto hawezi akarespond. Guess what? That is when they realized the child could not hear. Like I'm saying, from the back, she will not hear, but if it was hooting from the front, because she can see, she would have told, maybe this person wants me to kutoka hapo. But that is when they now realized, hiyo pikipiki ina hoot so loud, but the small child cannot hear. So they decided to take her to hospital, only to realize that the child was deaf. Now the child is admitted into a special school for science. The special school where they use science. That's why I'm saying that it is important to try and check if your child can hear. And the only way you do is talking to him or her from the back. If he does not respond, any child who hears, ukiongea from the back, ataangalia. But if you talk from the front, atarespond juu anakuona. Lakini if you go at the back and you realize respond, aski, hata ukimuita from the back aski, then take that child to an audiology center to check if he or she is hearing. Sindio?
Yes.
So una advice? Hata na any language, hata ejuka.
Parents, I advise you to take care and check your children when they are young, because many problems are occurring when the children are tender, and when you're not careful, when you don't take care, you find the problem when it is too late.
Yeah.
So be careful when you're nurturing your young ones, so that you can identify their problems as early as a tender age.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you have heard. I'm talking out of what I've experienced in one or two things, but now that is a real life experience. Keep watching. We love you so much, and as the auntie said, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.